رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. Okay, welcome to today's class. Acha. So today we are going to learn some more about introduction paragraphs. Previously we had a little touch to it. So in our today's class, inshallah, we will learn it, and as we have given this a name as front door, so we are going to deep dive or understand it in depth, inshallah. Okay. So if your introduction paragraph or your front door is not that much clear enough, not that much beautiful enough, no one is gonna enter your house. So similarly, if your introduction paragraph is boring or confusing, the reader will walk away without even trying to read further. So it should be very, very good. It should be very, very well structured, and it should be able to grab readers' attention. And since you know what, nowadays most of the articles are published online, and there are a lot of opportunities for readers. So they can swap from website to website. So they are just going to read it in a few seconds. They are going to decide whether this article should be read or not. Okay, so we need to give more attention to our introduction paragraph. That's why we are going to have some of the more technical. Okay, so the first technique or the first method that we are going to start is the funnel method. As the name suggests, funnel. Funnel is something that has a broader start and it ends to a specific point. We use funnel for pouring oil into our some of the utensils, and what men use funnels for pouring petrol into their automobiles. So these are the things that start from bigger and end at a specific point. So you are use the same thing. You will start your introduction paragraph by giving a general statement. Then we will move to a specific thing and then more specific thing. Okay. So we are going to use this method and let's see how this method actually works. Okay. So deep dive the hook or the tone. We have already learned a little about it. So the hook is the very first sentence of your article in your introduction paragraph. Its job is to grab the reader's collar and force them to pay attention. You want them to think, wow, this writer is serious. Or this is the material that I was looking for. Or it must have something interesting. You want to create that impression in the reader's mind. If you get successful, reader is going to read your article, and if you fail here in the very first sentence, your article is gonna be ignored. Although it may be very well structured, it must have very good facts, each and everything should be balanced, but still it's gonna be rejected if the first line or the doormat is not perfect. Okay, so first thing is doormat, first sentence. Then I will tell you how to make a doormat very effective. Three things are there in front of you. First thing is the bold universal truth. State a massive, undeniable fact about human nature or modern society. For example, if you are making your doormat, your first sentence should be in the modern era. The human desire for convenience has silently transformed into one of the most destructive forces on the planet. Now see, for reader reads it, he thinks that it's gonna have something interesting because you have used some different words to show a concept. Okay? Or so it was a bold universal truth. Second methodology that you can use to make your doormat is the dramatic contrast. Okay, show how something that was supposed to be good has become something terrible. It's a contrast in a dramatic manner. For example, while the internet was originally invented to connect humanity, it has rapidly evolved into a digital prison that actively isolates individuals. Now, if our reader is going to read this thing, he's going to think that, oh, this article is saying something different. I must read how the internet has made people uh, digital prison and how is it getting them isolated from their as an individual from the society. What's happening? So, the reader is going to read it. Shall Third thing, the cinematic zoom. You may start by describing a broad, sweeping scene or a current global crisis. For example, across the globe, the modern supermarket has slowly evolved from a source of human nourishment into a highly engineered chemical laboratory. Now see the wording when a reader is going to read about engineered chemical labor and human nourishment. So it's gonna have a natural tendency to read more. What this article is going to describe. Okay? So these kinds of things can be used as the doormat, and doormat or the hook is the first sentence of your introduction paragraph. Okay? Now, second portion deep dive, the background, or we can call it the hook. If the hook can be called as the doormat, then the background can be called the hook. Okay, so you have hooked the reader. Now reader is going to read something more, and you cannot directly jump to your thesis statement. You need something to connect between the first line and the thesis statement, and to connect them you are going to use the background. So background has two, three sentences. Means first sentence was there about your book. Now two, three sentences should be there as a background. Okay? And these sentences must answer two questions for the reader. Means you are not going to ask the questions, but it's gonna answer two questions for the reader that can come in reader's mind. The first question can be why now? Means you have explained something in your doormat. Now reader thinks that why are we talking about this topic today? Or what is the current crisis? Explain the context of the word. If you are to explain what is the current situation, or why are we going to read, or why are we going to discuss it today? Okay, this is the first thing you need to answer this question from reader's mind. Okay, and the second thing should be smooth pivot. For example, you must gently steer the background information directly toward the topic of your thesis statement so that the transition feels flawless. Remember the semantic method we learned earlier at the time of our making our rooms or connecting the fact, one fact to another fact. Similarly, we need to connect our background and the doormat the thesis statement, we need something to make it happen with smooth transition. Okay, so let's see it practically. Okay, so first of all, we have two questions. Why now? If we need to answer this thing, we can say that every single day, massive global corporations mass produce millions of synthetic garments designed to be worn only a few times before being thrown away. Now, this is something, why are we talking about it? Okay, today. So, it's the current problem, it's happening right now, every single day it's happening. And now, the smooth pivot, how are we going to make it? How are we going to make the transition flawless? We will use while this business model provides consumers with instant gratification, it completely ignores the devastating reality of overflowing landfills and abused factory workers. Now the reader is perfectly prepared for your thesis statement about past fashion. Okay, so in this way, using two sentences, we perfectly make the pattern. Okay, now before we learn or we go further and have a look on some of the demos, I want to tell you some do's and don'ts that you need to do or you need to avoid. Okay, so three do's are there and four don'ts are there. First do is keep it functional. Okay, as I have told you, always start broad the word or the society in your book, then narrow it down to the specific problem in your hallway or the background, and end with the highly specific thesis statement. If you are doing the funnel here, okay, starting from the broad, then narrowing down, then narrowing down more. Okay, first thing to do it. Second thing, use an authoritative tone. Write with absolute confidence. You are the expert. Make the reader believe every word you say. Means you should use firm words. You shouldn't say maybe. You shouldn't say it could be. The word that can create a kind of ambiguity in any kind of material. Okay, so you are not to use those words. You should be using firm words, absolute confidence, show absolute confidence, so that the reader can get that you have done your research. And it's a good when you're writing any article, you have done your research, you are 100% sure about the material you're writing. So why not to show it with full of confidence? Okay, if you are to show it with complete confidence, absolute confidence. Okay, so the third thing is that check your bridge word. If you know that we use bridge word at the start of a thesis statement, so you need to use them wisely. Okay, make sure the final transition from the hallway into the thesis statement uses a smooth transition word like consequently or therefore, ultimately, or however, and you have already used many of them, so you know how to use. Okay, but use them wisely. They should have a connection. Okay, now coming to the four don'ts. So the first don't or the thing you should never do is ask the reader a question. Okay, you have read some of the articles. I personally have read some of them that starts with a question. For example, have you ever wondered about fast food? Or what do you think about climate change? Okay, so these kinds of things are something that a reader doesn't like it. Even when I'm going to read an article, I don't like that article is asking questions to me at the very start, and I'm not sure should I be reading it or not. So I will skip it anyway. Okay, so never do it. It's a weak primary school technique. A C1 article should not have. Okay, they do not ask questions; they give correct answers. Okay, first thing, don't ask questions. Second thing, do not use dictionary definition. Never start with Webster's dictionary defines technology as, or some other dictionary, or some internet material, or some book statement. Do not use it there. It is incredibly boring and tells the reader that you have no original thoughts. Means you are going to make this article in a robotic manner. Okay, so reader is not there to read it by a robot. Okay. Third thing is that do not argue your rules early. Although you have facts and you know how are you going to represent them, but there's a right time to represent them. You know that we already have three rules with three separate paragraphs where we are going to describe our facts. So do not describe the result of the fact here. Okay, your introduction paragraph should not have the how. For example, you're writing your introduction, or it should have a map. It should not explain how the fast food causes heart attack or heart disease, or how microplastics hurt the ocean. You should not use the how or explain the how. Okay, share the deep facts and evidence for your actual body paragraph. The three. Okay. And the fourth and the last thing you should not be doing is do not announce your personal opinions, intentions. For example, in this article, I will discuss in this. Okay, do not show your intentions in this article. I will discuss this, or this essay is gonna be about that thing or this thing. Do not use it at all. Okay, just state the facts directly. Perfect. Now, now we are going to see five detailed demos, and inshallah you will learn all these things that I have explained today. The doormat and the hallway or the background, two questions of the background, and then the statement and do's and don'ts. So inshallah you will understand it. Okay. So we have our context. The topic is teenage smartphone addiction. Context or background notes are there for you so that you can make your introduction paragraph. So yes, they are smartphones were meant for communication, but now they are highly addictive. Teenagers stare at them all day. They are constantly getting notifications from social media. It makes them disconnected from the real physical world around them. Now, this is the context. And you have three rules. First rule says allows the brain to produce natural melatonin. Second says prevents chronic eye strain. And rule three says ensures a deep, uninterrupted sleep cycle. Now, this is your context and three rules. Okay, let me see if our recording is working. Okay, yes, it's working. Now, so how can you make introduction paragraph? Let's see the hook or the doormat. In the modern era, the glowing screens of digital devices have successfully hijacked the human nervous system. We, I think, we use same thing in previous class as well, just as a touch. So this statement or the hook has a very high probability that it's gonna hook the reader actually. It's gonna grab the reader's collar. That reader is gonna read it by anyway because we have used hijack human nervous system. Okay, so reader is gonna think how this has hijacked someone. Okay, so it is the hook. Now the hallway before thesis statement. Okay, from the moment teenagers wake up to the second they fall asleep, they are relentlessly bombarded by notifications and infinite social media feeds. One sentence. This constant digital filtering has created a generation that is entirely disconnected from the physical world. Second thing, we have completed our hallway or the background here. Now we are giving our main thesis statement. Consequently, aggressively reducing daily sleep time serves as a critical biological upgrade because it allows the brain to produce natural melatonin, prevent chronic eye strain, and ensures a deep, uninterrupted sleep cycle. In this way, we completed our book, the hallway or the background, and finally the thesis stage. So it is the complete introduction paragraph that we should be using. Okay? Demo number two. Similarly, for demo number two, we have the context or background for fast fashion industry. People want to buy cheap and clothes. Okay. Companies make millions of synthetic shirts that are meant to be worn twice and thrown in the trash. It feels good for the shopper, but it creates massive landfills and relies on factory workers who are treated terribly. Why they are treated terribly? Because they have a lot of load on them. They need to work extra and they are not given the due compensation, of course. Okay. So new one is massively pollutes global oceans. Plastics. Second, exploit vulnerable laborers in developing nations. Three, it traps consumers in a cycle of endless financial waste. Okay, and of course we know that financial waste or israf is haram Islam as well. Okay, so The constructed introduction paragraph would be the hook. The human desire for cheap, trendy clothing has silently transformed into one of the most destructive forces on the planet. Now, see this statement. It's gonna grab readers' attention. How this trendy clothing has silently become the most destructive force in the planet. It's not a bomb, not any kind of destructive weapon or massive destruction, but how this desire has become that much destructive force. So reader is gonna read about it. Okay, so the background of Harvey is every single day. Massive global corporations mass produce millions of synthetic garments designed to be worn only a few times before being thrown away. This is our first question's answer about the hallway. Why now? Okay. And the second, smooth transition. While this business model provides modern shoppers with instant gratification, it completely ignores the devastating reality of overflowing landfills, abused factory workers. Okay. Now the main thesis statement: while the fast fashion industry offers affordable style to the masses, it acts as a deeply unethical economic system by massively polluting global oceans with microplastics, exploiting vulnerable neighbors in developing nations, and trapping consumers in a cycle of endless financial waste. This way, we perfectly name a word integration. Okay? Now, term number three, unpaid corporate internship. Okay, so the context is that many big wealthy corporations make young college students work for free as interns. The companies say that they are paying them in experience. If they are not paying them any money directly, so they are paying them in terms of experience. Because the job pays zero money, only rich kids with wealthy parents can afford to take the job. And poor students who are completely locked out of the career. Okay, so poor students cannot join, of course, that's the pattern. Now, one is stops the cruel financial exploitation of youth. Second, permanently closes the wealth gap in the corporate hiring. Number three, guarantees that all labor is fairly compensated. So this drama should be stopped. So the introduction paragraph would be: the modern corporate ladder is built upon a deeply flawed foundation that forces young professionals to trade their physical labor for empty promises. Now, see, we have used empty promises, ladder, and it has been built on flawed foundation. So these kind of things are going to hook the reader's attention, and reader is going to read. Oh, I haven't thought this thing, or I haven't heard about this thing before. So I'm going to read this out. Okay, although the reader is looking for something different, but if a reader reads it, there are high chances that the reader is gonna read the article inshallah. Okay, so this is the book. Now coming to the background, the hallway. Across the globe, thousands of wealthy corporations refuse to pay their entry-level interns, hiding behind the excuse that they are providing valuable industry experience. This highly normalized practice creates a brutal environment where only the wealthiest students can afford to work for free, leaving lower income graduates entirely shut out of their chosen career. Okay, so this was a smooth transition, and now the thesis statement. Therefore, legally banning unpaid internships is a mandatory societal upgrade because it stops the cruel financial exploitation of youth, permanently closes the wealth gap in corporate hiring, and guarantees that all labor is fairly compensated. Okay. Now, two models are there, and why have I given five this much detailed demos for you that you can have an estimation how to connect these things with each other. And inshallah, after these two demos, you will also get a chance to buy yourself, inshallah, in the form of drinks. Okay. So now, number four, ultra processed food. Context is supermarkets used to sell food from farms, but now they sell food made in labs. Ultra processed foods are filled with fake sugar, dyes, and preservatives. Preservatives are there because they keep their food stay for longer months, longer duration, for weeks, months, and sometimes for years. Okay, so families buy them because they are cheap, but they are unknowingly feeding their kids chemicals that are designed to be highly addictive. Okay, so number one, it radically reduces the risk of cardiovascular disease. Number two, restores the human gut microbiome. And three, cures chronic physical fatigue. So now we are going to make a fourth the thesis statement by understanding the three rules. Okay. Okay. Now, uh, just so, sorry. The modern supermarket has slowly evolved from a source of human nourishment into a highly engineered chemical laboratory. Now, see, we have used the same context here. The thing that we learned in the context, we have summed up that thing into eye-catching or very interactive, very what different kind of hook state. So that the reader is going to read our part. Sure. The modern supermarket has slowly evolved from a source of human nourishment, the same thing that we explained here, that supermarket used to sell food from farms, but now they are selling food from made in lab. So we have used here into a highly engineered chemical laboratory. So this is something that if even I first time read it and I have, for example, a very important class, I will at least make it start or I will at least make it bookmark that I can read it later. Okay, so these kinds of book statements are very. Now the hallway is in recent decades, natural farming has been replaced by the mass production of ultra processed food that are heavily loaded with artificial preservatives, liquid sugar, and synthetic dye. Now, this is something that we said that there are two parts of hallway or the background. First part is now what? Okay, why are we reading now? Okay, what's the reason for reading it now? So we have explained that in recent decades. And the second thing, the transition we are going to make. So we will use this sentence because these cheap items dominate grocery store shelves and families are unknowingly feeding their children products that are biologically designed to be addictive. Now we are going to make our thesis statement and consequently eliminating ultra processed food. Now there would be two ways to make our thesis statement, and that's why I highlighted that we have three rules, and three rules are showing some benefits. So to show these benefits, we must remove the concept. That's why we have used here consequently eliminating ultra processed. Okay, if there were in the three rules there were some kind of harm effects mentioned, we must be using our or making our thesis statement by saying consequently by using ultra processed. This is the difference. Okay, so we are using here eliminating word. Why? Because we have the benefits in our three. So this is something that we need to make our thesis statement being very conscious. Okay, so consequently, eliminating ultra processed food from the human diet serves as the ultimate biological defense mechanism. I'm sorry, this is English. Defense mechanism by radically reducing the risk of cardiovascular disease, restoring the gut microbiome, and curing chronic physical fatigue. Okay? Now, the demo number five is the last demo for today. Context is working Monday through Friday for 40 hours in a very old is a very old rule from the industrial revolution. It makes people exhausted. Global mental health is dropping. Smart companies are starting to realize that forcing people to sit at a desk for 5 days actually kills their creativity and makes them hate their jobs. So we have three rooms. First is completely cures chronic executive burnout. Second is spark high level creative innovation. The third is drastically reduces expensive staff turnover rates. Now, these three rooms are, of course, the benefits, but in the background, we have learned something that is problematic. So, how are we going to, make our thesis statement? I'm directly jumping to the thesis statement and read it. All the traditional managers fear a drop in company profit. Transitioning to a 4-day work week means we are explaining something opposite to the background. That's the thing that I wanted you to focus. Okay. Now we may read the whole paragraph first. Uh, the book, the traditional 5-day work week is an outdated relic of the Industrial Revolution that completely fails to accommodate the psychological needs of the modern professional. Okay, so this is the hook statement that can grab the reader's attention. Now, the hallway for over a century, society has accepted the rigid structure of working from Monday to Friday, leaving employees completely exhausted and drained by the time the weekend finally arrives. However, as global mental health continues, progressive businesses are beginning to realize that forcing humans to sit in an office for 40 hours a week actively destroys their creative energy. Now, the thesis statement comes that is going to score the 4-day work week. Okay, although traditional managers fear a drop in profit, transitioning into a 4-day work week is a vital corporate evolution because it completely cures chronic executive burnout, sparks high level creative innovation, and drastically reduces expensive staff turnover rates. Okay, so it was the all for today, the 5 demos for today. Now we are going to move towards our sprints, and I hope that you have done a lot. Inshallah, you will be doing that. Okay, so our sky scrapper sprint. So now it's your turn to build the front door for the 10 sprints below. I have provided you with the raw material, and your job is for the each sprint is to invent a strong universal hook. No questions, no questions. Okay. Number two, read the context and background notes and rewrite them into your own C1 vocabulary to create smooth 2 to 3 sentence way. Then write the thesis statement at the very end using the 3 rooms provided. Use your form. So we have already worked on making the thesis statement and 2 forms. And then combine them all into one perfect introduction paragraph. Okay, so I'm going to show you the sprint. So here is your sprint, and we are left with only 5 minutes. I think it would be more convenient if we can rejoin the class so that we can do the sprint without any interruption. Okay. Okay, please rejoin the class and we will start this.